Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time it may be at the time that you are listening to this message. I am your host, Miss U'nique, and welcome in. Welcome to Beyond Unique Shattered Dreams, where every shattered dream becomes a sometimes harsh reality. And today's story time is going to be about my son. Yes, his name is Chosen. And today's story time will fall under Spectrum Stories or Chosen Moments. Hence the play on his name, Chosen, right? So we are going to discuss Chosen, or I am going to discuss Chosen today because Chosen is on the spectrum, the autism spectrum. And he is 12 years old. And I have known this since he was about 3, maybe. Definitely since about 3.5, almost 4. But definitely suspicions around maybe 2.5 or so. So I would like to discuss how his diagnoses came about. Well, when or even before I was pregnant with Chosen, I was always saying, "Oh my gosh!" I don't know if y'all remember that system, My Baby Can Read, right? So if you don't know, you may be too young to know, but it is a pretty popular system called My Baby Can Read. So I used to always say, "Oh my God, if I have any children, I'm definitely going to put them on this system. I'm definitely going to get them started with that because, them commercials just had me believing, right, that all the babies could read, okay? So I just thought that, hey, if everybody else baby could read, so could mine, right? So I did actually. I purchased My Baby Can Read, right? And I was super, super excited for when I was able to use it. So with having Chosen, it was great. I actually was able to use the system, and they have these flashcards and these books and the CDs and the tapes, and they had all the stuff, right? All the stuff that the parents can teach the children with, and I was just like super excited. So Chosen was definitely enjoying his time. He definitely was enjoying his time. He was reading the words, and I would prop him up in his little, what do you call that, high chair, and let him listen to the program. And I would just watch him light up when the words came on the screen, and they would have the little, they do the little words that rhyme, the little songs that they do and things like that. And he would light up, and he started to learn, he was learning some of the songs, and he actually started repeating some of those words at about, I would say, 6 months. I'm sorry. At about 6 months old or so, he was actually repeating some of the words. So here I am. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's working, right? I was like, it's working. He is repeating these words. And I would do the words with him, and my mom would do the words with him. And we were loving it, and so was he. And so he was months old repeating the words. I want to say as young as 6 months. It could have been about 5, but definitely solidly, I believe I can remember around 6 months, he was actually repeating the words that I was giving him and my mom was giving him. And, we would test him periodically and have the little flip book and, and all the things, right? And so we were doing good and he was doing great for like the first year and a half or so, all the way up until probably like 2 years old. And I think I started to see this is what is called like regression. So regression is like, in layman's terms, or in very, very just easy terms to understand, is like when you go backwards, right? When you go backwards instead of moving forwards. So as you recall, right, I said that he was doing these words and he was repeating the words and everything. And we were just super, super excited about that. And then all of a sudden, somewhere about 2 years old, I believe, he was no longer saying the words. Uh-oh. Right? So I just monitored that for a while to see, like, is he really he's not really saying these words anymore. I would put him in front of the TV. I would put the song on. The flashcards, we would do the thing, all the stuff, right? And he just was not repeating anymore. And that became concerning. And I was definitely watching out for certain signs. I'm not going to say autism signs, because I just didn't think that in my head. And, but I was definitely watching out for some type of signs because his biological father definitely had his own set of issues dealing with dyslexia and those type of things. So I knew that I was going to look out for some of these things, right? So I was on the lookout. And when I noticed that there was regression, I then really started to really pay attention during this time, because I'm like, I want to see how far, this goes here. And he had not started any type of preschool or anything like that just yet, but he was definitely close to starting. But like I said, this became concerning to me, and so I watched him probably over the next like 6 months, over the next year, and sure enough, he definitely was no longer repeating the way that he was before. And now he was using a lot of hand gestures and motions and things like that. And as a matter of fact, like if he wanted us to give him his bottle, not bottle, or his cup or something like that, and he wanted us to fill it up and he wanted his milk or what have you, he would walk up and open up your hand and just like slam the bottle into your hand or slam the cup into your hand. And it's like we already knew, right? But it was like he was saying, you know what I need, you know what I want, like go get it, right? And especially if we were like talking on the phone or having a conversation, and it's like a lengthy conversation, and he feels like he's not being heard and nobody's paying attention to him. So he would do those type of things. And eventually I had to take him to get tested. And that was just like a long process. If any parent is out there and listening to this and have ever been through this process, it's like a whole ordeal, right? It's a whole deal when they're that young, and they take them in and they take them through a bunch of tests, and they play with them and talk to them and do all the nine, and they come out and they tell you something, and they go back in for a while, and they come out and they tell you something else, and they go back in for a while, and they shift them around from this room to that room, doing all the testing and all the things and all the stuff, And during that, I was prepared for that. I was prepared for it. I wasn't upset in any way. I wasn't bothered in any way. I just, I knew that that God had prepared me for whatever was to come, right? As I told you in previous episodes, the Father, which I call God, is just always in the center of whatever it is that I have going on, of course. And so I just trusted him for my next steps moving forward. And when I talked to the doctors that were doing the testing, it was at a university in Chicago, a pretty prestigious university in Chicago. And, they came out and they gave me the results and everything. And it was what I knew pretty much. And, I knew that I had to take that information and we had to then create a new type of life for him and for us with that information that they gave us. And it was good to know what my suspicions were, what I pretty much knew, and also what I had prepared myself for. I just now had it on paper. But also, when the children are young like that, they try not to put specific titles on them until after certain ages, because they feel like things can change and shift and they're still growing and they're still young and things like that. But it definitely he had a number of the signs and a number of things that was happening and that he was doing and wasn't doing. And I'll talk about those in future episodes. But the unique blessing, right, in this particular story time is that I was very vigilant and paying attention to what I was seeing, right? And I knew to prepare myself for whatever it was that I was going to hear. And, things could have been much worse, right? And just when you think that your situation may be bad, someone else's situation could possibly be worse, right? And you're not the only one going through this. So for any of the parents that's listening out there, I will talk about some of those signs and some of those things in future episodes. So to any of those parents that are listening out there, stay encouraged. I know that it's a difficult journey, and really no one knows how difficult the journey is other than the parents and the guardians, right, of these children and the people in our lives that may be on the spectrum. It is a wild ride for sure. And there's a lot of nuances and a lot of, ups and downs in this particular journey, right? But I think I'm just going to leave it there today. And, I just want to say that, once again, you're not alone, and God is always with you through this process. And reach out, reach out to people, to places, resources, all the things, excuse me, all the things that may be out there for you to connect with or to read about. Definitely do your research. For parents, guardians, caretakers, definitely do your research, okay? And this is where I'm going to end today's story time, right? I would want to see you all next story time, right? Next story time, I'm not sure what next story time is going to be about just yet, but I definitely will see you next story time as we continue to just heal these shattered dreams, right? One story at a time. Bye.